What's up, guys? Welcome to Cage Side Connor. Connor. It's gonna be my post show for UFC Vegas 107, UFC Taira vs Park, UFC Apex 3876. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Good event, solid card. I quite enjoyed this Apex card for what it was. Some good fights on the prelims, some great fights on the main card. Two in particular that I think are fight of the year worthy. A shame it went down at the Apex. I think I'm not necessarily the biggest Apex hater, but I think the overall MMA fandom consensus has been that these cards are lesser, so I think less people probably tune in for these. And it's such a shame when you have fights like Rebeski versus Duncan and Rebovich versus Brenner on these Apex cards with as little eyeballs on it as possible, with as few eyeballs in it on the actual card itself as possible. You know, that's how you build longtime fans, right? Like, I always think back to when I got into the sport. I had like the first card I really started watching at was UFC 100, and yeah, Brock Lesnar like got me through the door. I saw commercials for UFC 100, saw it was Brock versus Frank Mir 2. Brock hyping that shit up, you know, see this big old fucking ogre talking shit about Frank Mir. I'm like, oh, I want to watch that guy fight. But then really what made me a fan of the sport was Alan Belcher versus Sexyama, which happened on that main card as well. And so it's just a shame, I think, when you have two great fights like we had on here, and probably not a lot of people tuning in, so you don't get a lot of new MMA fans, even though those two fights are very worthy fights, and those are fights that could turn people into lifelong MMA fans, if you know what I'm saying. But regardless, great card. Let's get into it. Before we do, remember to subscribe to the channel. I would very much appreciate it. If you don't, all UFC events will be held at the Apex from now until the end of the time. So you better do it. Let's get into the video then, guys. First fight then, of course, in your main event, Taira defeated Hunsum Park by a sub round 2 rear naked choke, I do believe. Taira, man, came out sharp, came out clean, came out looking good. Hunsum Park had absolutely nothing for him. Now, of course, Hunsum Park, late replacement, was supposed to fight Steve Ursig on this week's Apex card. So that would have gone down on August 9th, I believe, and Taira was supposed to fight Amir Albazi, who pulled out last second. Hunsum Park then, of course, steps up, fills in for him. He was an undefeated prospect, sort of, Park, and yeah, he filled in on a week's notice, and it did not go super well for him. Taira absolutely dominated from bell to bell. The fight opened, he gets a quick knockdown, and I believe he hopped into side control, and then he just ended up taking Park's back, and that was a 10-8 round in my eyes. I know none of the judges gave Taira the first round a 10-8, but they damn well should have. That's a 10-8 round. And then second round, very similar. Taira gets a quick takedown, takes the back, and ends up sinking the choke in. Taira, man, I mean, what do you do with this guy? He looks super good tonight. I know everyone's saying title shot, everyone's saying a Brandon Moreno, everyone's saying let's give him someone really highly ranked. I say we all slow down a little bit. What's the rush here? You know, Taira just had his first loss. He seemed to have learned quite a bit from that loss to Royval from late last year, and he came back and he looked better than ever. I said we take our time. You know, we already have a very young prospect in Joshua Van fighting for the belt against Alexander Pantoja next. So I say we just take our time with Taira a little bit. Let's do something a little bit more fun, you know. That's why I'm suggesting we do Taira versus the winner of Tim Elliott, Kaya Sakura. Tim Elliott versus Kaya Sakura is going down on the UFC 319 pay-per-view in Chicago later this month. That'll be on August 16th. And I think you do the winner of that fight against Taira, especially if it's Kaya Sakura. Kaya Sakura, very big in Japan. I think he's like a superstar over there. I'm pretty sure he's very famous on social medias over there and whatnot. Of course, he was a former Rising fighter, so he's already got a well-known presence in Japan. And I'm gonna guess he's more popular in Japan than Taira even is. So I would like to see that fight and do it in Japan. That's what you fucking do. Like, if you really want to get Taira over and get a lot of Japanese fans behind him, That's what you do 100%. You put them both in the Saitama Super Arena in Japan, do it early next year sometime. And this is albeit that Kai Asakura actually beats Tim Elliott. Obviously, if Tim Elliott wins and they do Tim Elliott versus Tetsuya Taira, not nearly as exciting as a fight, but you could still do that, and I still wouldn't mind that one either way. I just think we need to take our time a little bit here with Taira, and then if Kai Asakura does win, Taira versus Kai Asakura is the perfect fight to make, especially if you do it in Japan. You could make Taira a superstar in his home country, and that's what you want. You want superstars to be in these different regions throughout the world, and have a superstar in Japan very much help you in the future if you are the UFC. So I think you do that. I think you cross your fingers, Kai Sakura wins, and then you book Tai versus Kai Sakura in Japan for a fun fight night sometime early next year. Your co-main event then. Oh yeah, I wanted to get to Hyun-Sung Park, by the way. Hyun-Sung Park, not the worst thing in the world. He was 10-0 coming into this. Lost to Tetsuya Taira. Very, it was just too much too soon for Park, it seems. So for Hyun-Sung Park, I'm going to suggest we do Jose Ochoa, who's also coming off a loss from last weekend's card. I think, both guys coming off a loss, looking to redeem themselves a little bit. I think that would make all the sense in the world. I want to completely write off Hyun-Sung Park yet. Yeah, he didn't look great. Yeah, he got 10-8'd in second round right away. But I think he can still climb up the ranks here. And flyweight, not the deepest division of all time. So, I don't know. You could see him back in the rankings sometime soon here. On to your co-main event then. Chris Duncan defeat Mateusz Rebecki via unanimous decision. This was a hell of a fight. Definitely fight of the night. It's funny, I thought fight of the night was locked up 2 times before this. But it was not, because Chris Duncan and Mateusz Rebecki came out there and they did the damn thing. They looked good doing it. Just a fucking slobber knocker here. Mateusz Rebecki looked like something out of a fucking horror movie by the time the second round started. Chris Duncan walking forward, throwing those nice short elbows, which I really liked. And yeah, they just went to war. Really enjoyed this fight. Definitely up there with fight of the year considerations now, I think. For Chris Duncan next, I'm going to recommend a Nazim Sadikov. Nazim Sadikov coming off that win back at the Azerbaijan card. That was the Jamal Hill versus Cleo Roundtree card. Went down back in June. Yeah, he beat Nicholas Mota on that card, and he's, I believe, 3-0 in the promotion now, and Chris Duncan on 3-fight win streak himself. I think you set up this fight, and then winner of this gets a shot at the illustrious UFC lightweight rankings, which are very hard to crack into. Probably the deepest division, the hardest division to crack into the rankings with. So we match these two up, have them go to war, and then winner gets a chance at someone in the top 15. That's how I would play it. That's how I would like to see it. It's very nice seeing new exciting lightweights come up as Dustin Poirier is just retired, as Justin Gaethje is on his last few fights here, Charles Oliveira probably in his last few fights here, Michael Chandler on his last few fights here. So it's very nice to know that we will have lightweights like this kind of replacing the old guard and keeping that the best division in the sport. Speaking of, Esteban Ribovic defeated Elvis Brenner via unanimous decision. Man, is Esteban Ribovic becoming everybody else's favorite fighter now? This guy just puts on wars and shows every time he gets in there. It's actually insane to see. Yeah, he looked great doing it. He has that Nathan Drake fighting style where he just walks forward and throws nonstop hooks, and I love to fucking watch it. Yeah, absolutely love watching Esteban Ribovic fight. For Brenner, no real shame there. Brenner's had a tough track, man. If you look at his record, he's fought nothing but straight up killers, and I hope they give him a break now. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. Hopefully they don't cut him. UFC could cut him, but I would hope they see the value in keeping a guy like Elvis Brenner around, and they just keep him on the roster for a good while. For Esteban Ribovic next, I'm going to recommend Michael Johnson. I think there's a lot of fun parallels here, a fun storyline here, because Michael Johnson just defeated Daniel Zellhuber. Daniel Zellhuber is, of course, the guy that Esteban Ribovic had the fight of the year against at the Sphere card in 2024. And yeah, I think that'd be a great fight, kind of old guard versus new guard type of thing. And it would set up a fight of the night, surely, unless Ribovic just put Johnson away immediately, which I could also see happening. But yeah, I would go Esteban Ribovic versus Michael Johnson. Put that on a pay-per-view somewhere, main card opener on any pay-per-view. That's a fantastic fight. I think there's a lot of value there, and everybody would love to see that. Next fight, then Taira Rosa defeated Nora Knoll via unanimous decision. This was definitely the biggest stinker on the main card. The first round was actually pretty decent. I thought Nora was actually looking pretty good on the feet here, but yeah, second round came out. Taira Rosa started getting those takedowns, and it was pretty much a wrap for Nora. She had no answer to them for that after that. For Taira Rosa now, I'm gonna recommend, it's kind of hard with the women's UFC 135 division. A lot of the girls are matched up now. A lot of the girls not very active in that division. Taira Rosa, I'm gonna recommend we just do the most fun thing possible, and that would of course be Taira Rosa versus Irene Aldana 2. These two had a fucking banger of a fight back in 2023. One of the best women's fights you'll ever watch. You can see the aftermath picture here where they just went to fucking war. And yeah, I think you set up that rematch. Why not? You could throw that on a main card on a fight night. You could even throw that on a pay-per-view with how exciting it more than likely will be given their first fight. So I think it's a fantastic fight to set up. Next fight then, of course, oh yeah, here's a picture of that. See, bloody as shit. It was a war. Go back and watch that fight if you guys haven't seen that one. Next fight then, Neo Magny defeated Zaleski dos Santos via TKO round 2. Neo Magny, man, Unk status here. He looked good. He looked very good in that second round. This Zaleski dos Santos came out like a madman, really put the pressure on him. Magny definitely dropped the first round, but like dos Santos wasn't able to really keep up the pressure in starting in the second round. I think his conditioning was kind of failing him a little bit. And Neo Magny does what Neo Magny does. He turned it around, ended up getting a TKO, flattened him out. Look good, man. For Neo Magny next, I don't know. He's kind of fought everyone in the division. This fight was originally supposed to be Neo Magny versus Gunnar Nelson, and they've been scheduled once before in 2018 as well. And I quite like that fight, so that's what I'm suggesting. Why don't we just reset up Neo Magny versus Gunnar Nelson? I think it's a good fight. Two guys aging. Two guys definitely on their last few fights in their UFC career here. I think Gunnar Nelson has even said he's only got 1 or 2 more left in him. So yeah, I say you set this one back up. I mean, clearly neither guy's going to really be a threat to the rankings at this point. Neither guy's going to be a threat to that title at this point. So I say you just set this fight up. I'd rather see fights like this than giving Neo Magny a young up-and-comer that's just going to knock him out again. Same thing with Gunnar Nelson. Last fight then on the main card for your UFC Apex event, Kevin Vallejos defeats Danny Silva via unanimous decision. Kevin Vallejos, man, looking damn good doing it. This guy's only lost to John Silva. He's only 23 years old. He's definitely one to look out for in this featherweight division now. A little short for featherweight, or maybe Danny Silva's just really tall. I'm not entirely sure. But I wonder if Kevin Vallejos can make 135, if that's a possibility. He might want to consider that, especially before he starts aging in his career, or maybe just leave it at featherweight. I don't know. I don't mind that either. Obviously, weight cutting's super bad for you, so if he wants to do that, either way. But 135, something to keep his mind open about. For Kevin Vallejos next, not really sure what you do. It doesn't really matter at this point. I think it's just more about getting wins right now than it is getting him into the rankings. I will recommend Jose Delgado, who is also a young prospect in this featherweight division, also 2-0 in the UFC right now. So this is going to be a fun prospect versus prospect fight if the UFC wants to set this one up. And it would be a war, just straight boxing, I'd imagine. And we'd all have a good time watching that. Here goes the rest of your prelims, what they look like. Shout out to God, who do I want to shout out here? Austin Bashy, of course, that round 1, first round submission. There's some decent prelims on this card. They weren't too bad. But yeah, quite enjoyed them. Shout out to Austin Bashy. I know he got that opponent on I don't know, less than a week's notice. So it's not really saying super a whole lot there, but he looked good and picked up his first one in the UFC. For the card rating, what do we go with here, guys? It was a great card. It's unfortunate it wasn't the Apex. It'll be less memorable because it is in the Apex, but it does have 2 Fight of the Year contenders and Taira Taira looking supremely good. I'm gonna give it a solid rating here. Honestly, I was expecting to rate this card very low in the post-fight rankings. I'm gonna give it a solid 7.9. I think that's kind of where this card rounds out at, which is a very high score. Honestly, I feel like I'm giving too high a scores now to all these cards. Eventually, we'll get a really bad one, and I'll rank it really low. But that was not this card. because it was great. Thank God for Esteban Reavers, for Elvis Brenner, and Chris Duncan and Taira Rebeski. Great fight. My next video is gonna be a UFC flyweight matchmaking video, and then of course we'll do a preview show for next week's UFC Vegas 108, which is Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Dolidze. Very excited for Fluffy Hernandez return. So we will see you then, guys. Bye.